So for our reading lesson, okay, for today, we are going to be reviewing our genres. Okay, we're going to be reviewing our genres. Ali, is it a question that needs to be asked now, or is it something that can be answered later? Okay. So we are going to review our genres. So for today, we are going to look at our genre that we kind of just went over. So we just recently, actually as recent as yesterday, talked about fiction. Okay, so we're going to be talking about fiction. We're going to talk about what makes fiction fiction. Why when you see fiction why when you see a story or a book that you're going to say it's fiction? What are its characteristics that are going to make it fiction? Okay, so and the reason I am creating this folder is because I want us to start to think about these genres in a way that when I have my fiction folder, whenever I find a book like Dex, The Heart of the Hero, and I say, it's fiction, I'm going to open this folder and I'm going to say, okay, if it's fiction, here are all the different characteristics of why it could be fiction. So when you're taking a test or you're even just reading a book, you can say, okay, I know this is fiction because, and then you can tell me why it's fiction. Okay, Aiden, wait till the end. No more questions until the end, because I got to get through this. Okay, so let's think about fiction. So when I'm thinking about fiction, one of the really big things about fiction is that fiction tells me something. What does fiction tell me? It's telling me Michael, what's fiction telling me?
A story.
It tells a story, right? Fiction tells a story. Like our Dex, The Heart of a Hero, told us a story. Our Big Red Lollipop we read yesterday told us a story, right? So fiction also, we also read fiction to enjoy, okay? We read to enjoy. So that kind of goes along with when I talk about my author's purpose and I talk about fiction is there to entertain us. It's there to bring us entertainment. So we read it to enjoy it and for the purpose of entertainment, okay? So when you see fiction, you're thinking, it's telling me a story, I'm reading it to enjoy it, it's bringing me entertainment. Fiction is also, now look at the word I'm going to use, mostly untrue, make sure you're muted, events. Why do you think I'm using the word mostly untrue? Ali, why am I using the word mostly?
Because you're saying a lot of the events that are going to happen is not true.
Okay, so, but what, Emily, what am I thinking? What type of fiction am I thinking of?
You're thinking of realistic fiction.
I'm thinking of realistic fiction, right? Realistic fiction can be true, okay? It can be real. So one thing that I want us to start to get away from, meaning I want us to say, skirt, we don't want that, okay? Is saying, using the word if something is real or not real. Because when you look at realistic fiction, right? realistic fiction can be real. But if it's telling me a story, then it's still fiction. So like our Aunt Flora's Fedora, that very first test that we read, some of you told me it was nonfiction because it was real. But was that story nonfiction? No, because it told me a story. I read it to enjoy for entertainment. So we don't want to use the word real. So that's why I put mostly untrue events. Because when we look at realistic fiction, the events can be real, right? They could be something that really could happen. Does that mean they've actually happened? No, it could just be a story, but that's where you have to know if it's a story. Okay, I know that's kind of confusing, but we're gonna hopefully be able to kind of get through that this whole week, especially when we look at nonfiction. Okay, so some of the big things that fiction has that nonfiction does not have, or informational does not have, that we look for, fiction has, and there's 4 big things. Who knows my 4 big things? Let's see, I'm just gonna start the Aiden, what's my first one?
I don't know that one, but I know one.
Okay, well, wait, hold on. Let's do this one first. So mute and let's do this one first. I want to go in order. Okay, what's this one? Starts with a C. It's in fiction stories. Ollie, do you need more of a hint? C. H. Aiden, mute. Aiden, mute, because your background noise is too loud. Emily, what is it?
Characters, Falling Sentence, Solutions.
Oh, nope, only one. Characters. Characters. Okay, so that's the first one. So our fiction story has characters. Okay, so then what's my S? What's my S? Am I right?
know.
S.
Setting.
Setting. Okay. So then what's my P? Justin, what's my P?
Problem.
Problem. Okay. And last but not least, what's my R? What's my R? Aiden, what's my R?
Solution.
Resolution. Okay, so when you're looking at fiction, okay, fiction has story elements, okay? Fiction has story elements. That's what these are called. These are our story elements, okay? The other thing fiction has that we did yesterday is you could fill in a what for fiction. What could you fill in? What could you fill in while you're reading? Bianca, what could you fill in?
Plot mountain.
A plot mountain, right? Make sure I draw it right this time. Okay, I could fill in a plot mountain for fiction because fiction has so many different story elements that are going on. So, oh, oops, I wrote elements instead of mountain. Okay, so fiction tells a story. Read to enjoy, entertain. Mostly untrue events. Realistic fiction, the events can be real. So we're sticking away from that word real. Just because it's fiction doesn't mean that it can't be real. It has to, but if it's telling us a story, so that's our big word, if it's telling us a story, then it's fiction. Okay? If it's not teaching us facts, then it's fiction. It has characters, setting, problem, resolution, our story elements, and you could fill out a plot mountain when you're doing fiction. All right, are we good with fiction? We're good? We got it? Aiden, do you have a question?
Yeah, can we actually say, like, the things fiction has? Like, not, like, I know like there's story elements,
Okay.
but can we actually say what fiction really has?
Well, we're just going to stick with this for right now.
Okay.
We're just going to stick with this for right now because I want us to just have kind of a general overview in our folder. Because if we have too much in here, then it's going to overwhelm our brains. So we kind of want just the basics. Yes, Ollie.
This is the question I had earlier. So, before specials, you said we would do something on reading. You said we would do Beat the Teacher.
Oh, yeah. I'll explain that. I completely forgot because the whole fact that specials didn't work on Canvas kind of really threw me off. Let me explain it after independent reading because let us get to independent reading and get it done, and then I promise I will explain it, okay? Let us get to independent reading, we'll get it done, and then I promise I'll explain it. Because we have a little more time with writing because we kind of already did our read aloud. So, and this is a part of writing. All right, so we got this? Okay, so in your journal, what you are going to be doing is I want you to find fiction books, okay? And I want you to use, hold on, I almost fell over. Let me get a sentence stem real quick. I want us to use a sentence stem. Oh, if I can find them. Oh, here they are. I was like, I have them somewhere. Okay, we're going to use the stem that we just used earlier. This is fiction because, okay, this is fiction because, so you're going to tell me why it's fiction. So we're not necessarily saying I agree it's fiction because obviously with this one, we had already said it was fiction. So you're going to say this is fiction because. Sounds good? Pretty easy for independent reading, right? Pretty easy. So you're going to find me a few different fiction books. I want you to try to find at least 3 or 4. So we're kind of going to look at picture books. You're not necessarily going to look at chapter books.
Michelle,
Yes.
what happens if the book is not fiction?
If it's not fiction, then you need to change books,
Wow.
right? Because we're looking at fiction. I want us looking at fiction today.
But doesn't but I have a
How
question.
will I see?
Can I see you?
Look.
Say it again, Walter.
I have a question.
Yes, Walter.
Like, so what happened? But so do we need how many? So we're supposed to read books that are fiction and explain why they're fiction.
Yes, sir.
But how many?
3.
3 only.
Try and do 3. And you're going to write your stem in your journal. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and get out your journal and copy down the stem, it's a pretty easy sentence stem, but in case you want it in your journal so you don't forget, okay? In case you want it in your journal so you don't forget. So, what's today? Today's,
But then are we gonna write this on the chat, or are we just gonna have
say that again?
are we gonna have it, or we're just like gonna leave it? Like leave it in our journal? Do we have to write in the journal?
Yes, because I want you to write it down. This is fiction because, so you're going to give me 3 examples using this stem. You're going to give me 3 examples using that sentence stem. This is fiction because. And then do y'all want to write down what I wrote down in the folder, or do y'all remember what I wrote down? Thumbs up. Yes, let's write down what's in the folder. Thumbs down. I remember.
I do not remember.
Okay. So, remember that fiction tells a story. We read to enjoy or entertain, mostly untrue events, and then has characters, setting, problem, resolution. Okay, so this wasn't everything that's in the folder, but I kind of gave you a shortened version, so you don't have to write everything. It's a shortened version of what's in the folder, so you don't have to write everything. All right, when you are good, you're gonna give me a thumbs up.